Right now, we're seeing a lot of slasher stuff just because of the Scream boom. Because there's a lot of people in the younger generation who didn't grow up in the '80s with a lot of slasher films and don't realize how that Scream and so forth rip them all off.
I have a lot of customers in England.
Actually, we have one guy from England here today who came by and said hello because he orders stuff from us all the time and has it shipped out to England.
They'll order it, and they're just kind of taking a risk. Some of this stuff is quite strong. Sometimes it will go through customs, and sometimes it won't. And that's the choice that that's the risk they're taking.
Filthy, slimy pervert.
I remember one time in England the censor also the poster for my film Tenebre, and was also the poster was we have a girl with a small red line on the neck, and the censor put papillon. This was funny. For me, it was not so funny.
I'm Herschel Gordon Lewis. I'm the referred to, rather wryly, I think, as the godfather of gore. Because I made the first of these movies, Blood Feast, 2000 Maniacs, Color Me Blood Red, The Gruesome Twosome, A Taste of Blood, The Gore Girls, movies of that ilk. When we first released these movies, or I should say when we first excreted these movies, we had all kinds of trouble. In fact, an odd thing happened in Los Angeles, which is the hotbed of motion picture production. Within one area, the censors cut out of Blood Feast 12 minutes, which left nothing but a bunch of bad acting. And people would say, what's this all about? Because there was nothing left to it. In other areas, people who had seen the same movie with those scenes left intact said, wow, did you see the tongue come out of that gal's mouth? What tongue? What mouth? If the butchery of a print of a movie results in the audience not getting the effect, the movie is best left unshown. I had no problems in France. In Japan, I'm a national hero. I'm trying to think where. In Germany, these pictures are all over the place. So as far as I know, in civilized countries, I have no idea what it might be in Oman or someplace, but I've had nothing that compares with the UK. I had always felt, based on the movies from the UK that I look at, one, I felt they understood the sense of humor behind the whole thing. They're camp, they're not anything else. Two, I felt we were confrères in that respect, that there was nothing there that would outrage a UK audience. To horrify an audience today requires a little more than just saying, hey, let's make a movie and people get carved up. That seems to be the philosophy behind a lot of the movies that are made. They are ground out like so much hamburger, but that is not what I would regard as advancing the art of horror movies.
To avoid fainting, keep repeating to yourself, it's only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Only a movie. Last house on the left.
It is in a strange way anti-violent, but it's anti-violent in a way that you say, you like violent films? Here, how do you like this? And people say, oh no, that's terrible, you shouldn't do that. And we say, yes, you're right, we shouldn't do that. You can show any movie you want in this country to anybody you want if they want to pay money for it.
We started on a bad foot, my movie Maniac, which was put on their video nasty list.
Maniac.
That's lovely.
I can't believe this. The Maniac soundtrack album came out. You want to see what idiots you pay taxes to? It's just going out to the people in the UK. Do you know what idiots, where your tax money is going to? I sent a CD soundtrack by mail to a friend of mine who I better not name or else the stormtroopers will come to his house, and they seized the soundtrack. What was the music going to do? What could the music possibly do? What do people do? They look at photographs of the movie and they get ideas. They listen to the music and it makes them pick up knives and go kill people. I don't understand what goes on in your country.
If you look at the legislation to do with broadcasting, it talks about programmes should not offend against good taste or decency. Parliament never envisaged that broadcasting should be a complete free-for-all. It's laid down a framework of law for the benefit of society as a whole. There are artists, quotes, whose motive is not just to edify and to lift the spirits with their work, but to undermine and degrade our culture. And I think there's a lot of films that do that, and especially films that portray a lot of brutality and violence and so on. I think those films in particular do damage to our society, because film involves sound, special effects, speech, pictures, colour. For that reason, it's a very powerful medium. It's not like a book which you read and you use your imagination. It's all there on the screen before you. And it's very easy, I think, to get ideas. If you're going to commission a crime, these lads that are currently on trial for killing their friend acted out a scene from Reservoir Dogs. It's not to suggest that the film actually caused them to commit the crime. That's a different argument. But the fact that they acted out what they'd seen in order to commission or to kill this boy, I think it shows, it demonstrates to me that film is a very influential medium in terms of, you know, what we do, how we perceive other people, and how we perceive ourselves. And so for that reason, I think there has to be some kind of constraints on this particular form of what they'd call art.
The cinema of transgression was a movement which started in the early 80s by a filmmaker called Nick Zedd, who saw an explosion in kind of punk rock filmmaking, or punk rock related filmmaking in New York. He said they wanted to break every single law, moral, social, political, and only through breaking laws can you become totally free.
You know who she is. Put her on, okay? Mommy, is that you?
Richard Kern's Fingered, I guess, is the most famous example, which in some ways viewed as transgressive and offensive, because one of the central scenes in the film is the main actress being penetrated with a loaded gun. However shocking things are, invariably they get, you know, brought under the banner of art and then brought into the, you know, the academy and stuff. And maybe that's sad, maybe that things don't stay outside. But then it also allows for new things to develop on the fringes of culture and culture to change. I mean, that's how cultures progress, right? Andy Warhol's films, you know, at one point people just would walk out of them. What was the point of just watching a film that was like an hour where nothing happened? But now they're considered, like, you know, classics. The expressionists, the Dadaists, the surrealists, you know, pop art, all this art was critical of the society. In some way had a relationship that was both critical and symbiotic. It was a society which produced it.
Fucking kill you!
With the cinema of transgression, I mean, to me, it seems really obvious. It's about things like, you know, homophobia, Reaganomics, the AIDS explosion. So I'd say that art should always continue to be radical.
The director of Blood for Dracula and Flesh for Frankenstein. Let's hear it for Paul Morrissey.
Andy Warhol has nothing to do with art. He's a presenter. A movie is good or bad. It's not art. If it has anything to do with art, we won't know that till 50 years after the film is made and you look back on it. But to look at films as art at the time they're made is a foolish kind of journalistic, you know. Flesh was the most famous case at Censorship because an audience was arrested, and that never happened in the history of movies, where an audience that was watching the film because it was shown without a rating was arrested. But